Hello everyone, my name is Maureen KZ Salazar, and I am excited to share my research titled America First: The Economic Implications of Trump's Anti-Immigration Policies in the US. Over the next 5 minutes, we'll explore how these policies intersect with labor markets, fiscal impacts, and public perceptions, and why this issue is so critical to understanding the future of the US economy. In his 2017 inaugural address, Donald Trump declared, "From this day forward, it's going to be only America first." America first. This sentiment resonated with millions of Americans who felt economically insecure and culturally alienated. With nearly 48 million immigrants, both documented and undocumented, in the US, debates around immigration intensified during Trump's first presidency. This anti-immigration stance embodied in policies like the Muslim travel ban and reductions in work visas sought to address these concerns. My research examines the economic implications of these anti-immigration policies, focusing on their impact on the US labor market and fiscal policy. Specifically, it addresses the following questions. First, is immigration the root cause of socio-economic concerns for Americans? And second, how have anti immigration policies affected the US economy? Economic nativism is not new. It is a belief system that prioritizes the economic well being of native born citizens over immigrants. Historically, this ideology gains traction during periods of economic instability, as seen during the Great Depression and the Great Recession. It often paints immigrants as job competitors and resource burdens. Under Trump, this ideology drove restrictive policies like the Muslim travel ban and tighter visa regulations, which were justified as necessary for economic protection. But this isn't a new phenomenon, as mentioned. For example, the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 and the Immigration Act of 1924 similarly sought to curb immigration based on fears of cultural and economic disruption. In the course of my research, I have found the following findings. First, immigrants play an indispensable role in the US labor market, specifically in sectors like agriculture, construction, and services. In agriculture alone, 73% of farm workers are foreign born, and nearly half are undocumented. These workers fill labor intensive jobs that many native born Americans avoid. Trump's restrictive policies, however, created severe labor shortages in these industries. Unharvested crops in some regions led to economic losses and higher food prices for consumers. Farmers reported scaling back production due to an inability to find workers, further straining the sector's competitiveness globally. Critics of immigration often argue that immigrants strain public resources. However, research reveals a more nuanced picture. While first generation immigrants may incur high short term costs due to education and healthcare needs, their children, the second generation, are among the most significant contributors to the US economy. For example, a Congressional Budget Office report projects that increased immigration could reduce the federal budget deficit by 90 billion annually by 2033. The current federal budget deficit sits at trillions. How? Immigrants expand the labor force. They generate higher tax revenues and foster innovation, which outweighs their initial costs. So, where do we go from here? First, there needs to be a shift in public perception. The public's perception of immigrants often influence policy decisions as much as political ideology influences state laws, transitioning from a narrative focused on border security and criminality to one emphasizing economic contributions, cultural enrichment, and humanitarian responsibilities can reshape public discourse around immigration. launching campaigns that highlight positive economic contributions of immigrants, such as job creation, innovation, and filling crucial labor gaps, can help shift public perception and reduce support for harsh anti immigration policies. Second, reinstating and expanding legal immigration pathways. The Trump administration's policies significantly reduced the number of legal immigrants entering the United States, which adversely affected various sectors reliant on immigrant labor, not just in the service industry, but also in healthcare and education. With aggression and the discrimination, there needs to be an intervention in speeding up the legal immigration pathway, expanding work visa categories, particularly for sectors experiencing labor shortages, is essential. This would help ensure that businesses can meet their labor needs without resorting to mass deportations or other punitive measures. Thirdly, having inclusive economic policies. Following the expanded legal immigration pathway, there needs to be one that promotes fair wages across sectors, both for the US born and foreign born citizens. US businesses hire illegal immigrants at a low cost, subjecting them to inhumane work environments just because they are aware that these immigrants cannot report them due to lack of documentation. The government may have tax incentives for companies that pay living wages and can further encourage this practice. Lastly, stronger enforcement of labor rights. Immigrant workers are workers too. Thus, they must be part of the protections that ensure fair treatment in the workplace. Enhancing it can prevent exploitation and ensure compliance with labor laws. This includes enforcing minimum wage regulations and providing access to legal resources for workers facing unfair practices. While Trump's anti immigration policies aim to protect American jobs, they inadvertently created labor shortages, inflated consumer costs, and reduced the US competitiveness. We realize that immigrants are not the root cause of America's economic challenges. Rather, they are a vital part of the solution. As the US faces an aging workforce, global competition, and labor shortages, inclusive immigration policies are more critical than ever. Instead of focusing on exclusion, we should embrace policies that recognize the value of immigrants as drivers of economic growth and innovation. With an incoming second Trump presidency, the America First ideology could either be better or for worse. And right now, economists signal to the latter. To our dear professor, before the start of the semester, I was looking forward to the International Political Economy class because I believe this subject cements all that we have learned in the past 4 years. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend the first few classes at the start of the semester as a late enrollee. However, I was glad to find that my ideas and inquiries were welcomed throughout the class. I enjoyed administering my questions and sharing my perspectives because they were always met with a response. Thank you so much for your compassion towards our unique situations. I have enjoyed our classes and participating in